Falling Palm and Diving Force Palm are two abilities in Crimson Desert that can only be learned through completion of specific Abyss Island puzzles. All of that will be covered in this guide, and as usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. To start, we'll need to return to the first Abyss Island puzzle that we completed as part of the main quest line, the Ethereal Pathway. We can then make our way past the altar where the Abyss artifact was collected, activate the bridge that follows, and move to the next Abyss Island, Root's End. Once at Root's End, we'll need to make our way up a large staircase. If you followed some of my other guides, you can use the Pillar of Wind ability to speed this process up. Landing on the rotating grate at the center of the island, we can use a crouched force palm to get beneath it, then dive down through a series of laser traps. There's a rectangle battery near the bottom that we will need to grab with Axiom Force and move towards its socket, plugging it in with Force Palm once it's close enough. We can then use the nearby teleporter to get out of here, plug in one more battery, and activate the final device to restore the Abyss for Root's End. After collecting our Abyss artifact, we'll then move on to the next island, Precipice of Truth. Once again, the Pillar of Wind ability makes getting there much faster and easier. Having a cuckoo pot will make the Precipice of Truth puzzle easier, but it's not necessary. We basically need to disable a series of laser traps, then use the core that results from each one to lower a barrier and retrieve a battery. If we have a cuckoo pot, we can temporarily store the cores in it to make transporting them to their devices quicker and less clunky, but we can also just walk to those devices while holding on to said cores with Axiom Force. That's what I will be doing for this guide. Again, once we move the core to its device, a barrier will lower, allowing us to grab and plug in the battery to its socket. This will allow us to proceed to the next step of the puzzle. Now, if we do have a cuckoo pot on us, we should seal away the core from each puzzle step after retrieving the battery, as I believe these cores can be used in certain crafting recipes. Also, there is an extra core at the top of the area where we completed the first puzzle step that I'm going to grab before moving on to the next, though this is optional. For the second step of the puzzle here, we will glide up a fan current to reach a small floating platform. We can disable a nearby laser trap from that platform, then carry it as we ride up a moving platform to reach its corresponding device. With the barrier lowered, we can grab the square panel battery with axiom force and move it towards its socket down to the left. We can then store away the core we used to lower the barrier if we have a cuckoo pot, before plugging our battery into its socket with force palm. Doing this will activate a new fan nearby, and we can glide along this angled current to reach the third step of the puzzle. We'll need to jump over to an alcove to find one more laser trap, which we can deactivate with axiom force, then transfer the resulting power core to its device to lower a third barrier. This device is a bit further away at a low point of the island. Lowering the final barrier, we can retrieve the square panel battery and move it towards its socket. We can then seal away that last power core and go plug the battery into its socket with force palm. A new fan and the final device should both get powered on. We can ride the resulting air current up to the final device and anchor ourselves to it so we don't get dislodged as we force palm it to restore the abyss for Precipice of Truth. Upon completion of this Abyss puzzle, we will unlock both the Diving Force Palm and Falling Palm skills. Diving Force Palm is used in conjunction with the Aerial Swing skill, but the Falling Palm skill can just be used whenever diving down towards the ground. It negates any fall damage from falling at fast speeds, but you can still take damage after the Falling Palm has been performed if you land from high up enough. Hopefully the devs address this in a future patch. After collecting the Abyss artifact for this island, we can move towards the next island, or at least try to. In my case, I still have another Abyss island I need to complete first, called Roots of Truth. That is beyond the scope of this video, however, so I may need to cover it in a separate guide at some point. Until then, if you have any questions on what was covered in this guide, you can reach out to me in the comments where I will do my best to help. If you want to see more great content, you can head over to my channel. And if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day if you're here today, have a great Sunday, and a great week. And as always, thanks for watching.